Hello, people of the interwebs, and welcome back to another Fundamentalist Fails, where we go through and watch the fundies do the down undies. Yeah, they're terrible, and you know it. I don't know what I'm saying, but you know what I mean. And one of my favorite fundies to laugh at is Matt Powell. He's like a puppy that was treated badly, taught how to hate crime, and then sent out in the world to try and understand science. He really is that bad. I'm so glad you can join me. I really think that I love Fridays just because of this segment, Last week, I kind of did a miss and talked about political stuff. I'm not going to do that a lot. I do want to talk about the fundamentalists, and Matt Powell is definitely somebody that I like to laugh at because, yeah, not all tools are useful. Some tools are not useful, real Cygnus, and some tools, were thought they were useful back in the day. They're not useful anymore. I'm sorry, they're just not. So yeah, I get what you mean though. Tools can be useful and Matt Powell isn't, but some tools are useless, like they really are. So I didn't even know that MC Toon had that title. I really do like MC Toon. I think MC Toon's a really a great guy. So what have I got coming up? I think I have managed to pin down and secure a debate with Jim Bob, which is going to be hilarious and probably really enjoyable for me. I don't know how enjoyable it is for you guys, but definitely I think that sort of it should be a bit of fun. Should be a bit of fun. And so that is happening on the Eastern time, the 23rd Eastern time. So yeah, that should be a lot of fun. I will do it live. So yeah, that's going to be good. Where is that music coming from? Ah, there we go. Okay, so I will be doing that live, so that'll be a live debate. So I'll have that up as soon as possible, so I can sort of have people join. I'd really love it for moderators to join at that point because I know that his audience is pretty rabid and horrible, so I really have to prevent them from doing the dirty and coming in to disrupt my stream. But that should be fine. It should all be good. It should be a lot of fun. I hope you're out there by yourself. And so if you're unaware of who Matt Powell is, he did look at one point to be the protege of Ken Hovind, but they seem to have had a falling out or some sort of difference of opinion, probably to do with, crimes and stuff. Yeah, probably, Andrew, probably. So Matt Powell has said some pretty hateful things over the years, and it's important to remember that he is a hateful individual. He sort of advocated for the government taking out people of minorities like the trans community. So I think that it's important to remember he is that, but at the same time, it's important to remember he is blissfully stupid, like just remarkably very, very ignorant and very non-intelligent. So I do like laughing at him that he thinks he's a thinker. He thinks he's very, very deep and meaningful. He really is not. So I will get this up and we can start. I've got a few videos of him actually, so we can sit back, we can laugh, we can. The first one is 10 proofs for God. Proofs, mind you, proofs. For God that no skeptic can refute. What's the over and under on being irrefutable proofs here? Anybody know? Anybody know what the consensus is going to be about irrefutable? No? Okay. It's so good to see you all. Just a big shout out to Marty and Andrew. Andrew, always good to see you. Real Cygnus, welcome. Pinworm, welcome. Good to see you. Real Cygnus, yeah. Proven Time, good to see you. Yeah, it's all happening.
There's 10 reasons why God exists, and we're going to just run through these real fast for sake of time. Number one, the order and design of the cosmos points to an intelligent mind. You do not get matter and energy from nothing. If I said that a rock just...
Yeah, okay, so already, like, he's gone astray. So no real physicist says, like, oh, it came from literally no thing. Like, this whole thing started from a title on Lawrence Krauss's book, which was, you know, a title of a book is just there to catch people's eye. It was A Universe from Nothing by Lawrence Krauss. I think that... So what he was talking about is a lack of matter, energy, time, space, basically. So basically all of the things we consider to be something. He was basically saying that, hey, the universe could have formed from a quantum field which is technically nothing. It's not literally, like, philosophically no thing, right? So it's not like you know, I've got no thing in my hand, an absence of literally anything. So this is all comes from a straw man of that, which is kind of thinking, oh, hey Deviant, how you doing? So good to see you. I hope Sooty's doing well. Yeah, so and the whole idea of, oh, we see, what was it? We see order and design of the chaos. So this is sort of begging the question. Number one, the cosmos is quite chaotic, and order comes from that. It's sort of that things line up and order is produced, but it's more to do with physics than it is, you know, any kind of somebody coming down and designing it. Like, it's kind of like when you know, there is order to the random sort of bouncing of billiard balls, for instance. You can sort of get order out of it, but it's not like it's just like these patterns start occurring within chaos. We see this in weather patterns. We see this in all kinds of things. It doesn't mean it was designed like that. It means that the physics of the universe, things fall into order. Just because of the way physics works. Now, if you want to say, but already he's kind of begging the question. Begging the question means that you're presenting something as a premise, to an argument that hasn't been established. So he hasn't shown that you know, there's design to the cosmos, and there's no reason why simply having the laws of physics should point to any kind of mind. He's just saying, hey, it comes from a mind because it's designed. Well, how do you know it's designed? He doesn't. He's just assuming that up front. So this is sort of just assuming the answer to the question without actually going through the steps of demonstrating why it's so. There's no reason to think that the cosmos was designed in any way. It seems very chaotic, and there's, you know, galaxies, one colliding with another. There's all this sort of chaotic stuff happening in it. But let's ignore that and focus on the patterns.
Number one, the order and design of the cosmos points to an intelligent mind. You do not get matter and energy from nothing. If I said that a rock just appeared in this room from nowhere, would anybody believe me? But imagine if the entire universe just poofed into existence from nothing with no...
Yeah, and that's just a straw man. It's just basically saying, hey, it's literally no thing. Like, what is nothing? And that's something that Tracy Harris on the Atheist Experience used to ask. So when you're talking about nothing, what is nothing? I mean, if you're referring to what Lawrence Krauss said, he's got a very distinct, like I said, lack of time, space, energy, matter. Like, lack of any of those things is nothing. But a quantum field can still exist. So it's not nothing like he's thinking about it. So, but, you know, if he's saying, well, it came from nothing, what's nothing? Can you give us an example of nothing? Because there's a difference between no, like you're saying, hey, there's no, you know, there's no coffee cup on my my desk, right? That's, it's an absence of something. But if you're talking about the absence of anything like it is something, and that's a problem. Because once you start saying like it came from nothing, you're acting like that nothing is something. It's weird and it's paradoxical. It's just they're treating nothing like it's something, whereas the nothing that Lawrence Krauss was talking about was something. Like it's just none of these things. And it's just a book title. That's the thing that irritates me most. It's just a book title.
God. That is magic. If you're an atheist, you're believing in mysticism and magic. You cannot get something from nothing. And order and design means that there is a...
The irony is palpable. It's like, you have a divine figure literally doing magic spells and causing miracles and magic to happen, and you're accusing the atheists of believing in magic. This is the kind of stuff that really gets people laughed at, because, wow, like I've said it before, I'll say it again, like creationists, especially young earth creationists, they've got absolutely no sense of irony whatsoever, like at all. I feel like sometimes that Matt Powell just says the things, like he said before, that the problem of evil is actually the atheist problem. And I feel like sometimes he just basically says, well, I'm just going to accuse them of the same thing, and that will give me like that will give me a position to rail against them. Then I can laugh at them if I just say they're doing the same thing. Yeah, how's that coming along for you, bud? Seriously, atheists believe in magic and mysticism. That is actually funny. I'm sorry. It is.
Designer. Number two, because everything that begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist at one point, at some point in the past, whether it was through the Big Bang or through God speaking it into existence. The universe began to exist.
Well, for a start, no one thinks the Big Bang is the start of the universe. The Big Bang is the start of the inflationary period. We don't know that's the start. We don't think it's the start. No physicist thinks it's the start of the universe. They think it's the start of the inflationary period. Now, what the universe was before that is up in the air. But yeah, okay, just say, let's just for the sake of argument say, yeah, everything that begins to exist has a cause. Grayson Hawk does a really good breakdown of this. The things that I've said before as well, that things don't seem to have a cause anyway. Like there's no singular cause for, say, a gasoline exploding or something like that. I don't think there's any single cause. Goodbye. Okay, Atangelo has been blocked because he did dox somebody and he lied to me about it. So say goodbye to Atangelo, because you are not you lying about. I've got the entire story. You are gone. Goodbye. I don't like liars, and I don't like people that dox others. So this is sort of this okay, just say the universe has a cause. Well, for a start, that things don't seem to just start, right? Like it's sort of like asking, when did a boat start to exist? Was it when you cut the tree down? Was it when you made the planks, when you put them together, when you put the anchor on it? When did it? Things don't really begin to exist. Things just change state. Things change state all the time. There is a sort of philosophical argument to be made, well, you began to exist at some point. But I don't think that's really happening. I think matter and energy just change state into something else, that basically things don't even begin to exist. And the whole point about energy is that it can neither be created nor destroyed. It just changes state. So, but anyway, let's just assume for a second that indeed the universe began to exist, right? That's the Kalam cosmological argument. It is the conclusion of the Kalam cosmological argument, but it says nothing about a God, right? So just say it did begin to exist at some point. Sure. It had a cause. Okay, what's the cause? God. How do you know that? Like you're assuming that it's God without actually demonstrating that is so. And yes, Tenebris, lying for Jesus definitely sends you to super hell. That's super max hell.
Do things just begin to exist on their own? No, you'd have to have something outside of matter and energy bringing into existence matter and energy. Number three,
something outside of matter and energy bringing into existence matter of energy. For a start, you can't bring into existence matter and energy. Okay, matter is energy. It's basically just energy on a very sort of slowed down wavelength, if that makes sense. It's just a different type of energy. You can't create energy, right? Like energy changes state. It doesn't actually, like energy cannot be created nor destroyed. That's the whole point, right? The laws of thermodynamics, essentially. Yeah. The other two are sort of energy will tend towards disorder, or any closed system will tend towards disorder without energy coming in from the outside. And thirdly, it's in order to change from one to the other, you have to have some kind of energy to facilitate that.
anthropic principle. Life is balanced on a razor's edge, folks. If we were a little bit closer to the sun, we would burn up. If we were a little bit farther from the sun, we would freeze to death. If the moon wasn't in just a specific position, we would be drowned by the waves that the moon actually causes, the tides. Number four,
yeah, so this is said a lot. So the anthropic principle is that, oh, the positioning of the Earth is ideal for humans. It's really weird because as far as the Goldilocks zone of the planet is concerned, we're kind of not in the perfect place. We're kind of at the outer edge of it. And there's a propensity to go, well, this is really good for us. It's really good for humans. So therefore, it's been created that way for us. But a lot of the time we know that's not the case. It's not that whales have been created specially to move in the oceans. It's just that's what they've evolved into. Really, really weird idea that sort of the Earth was placed in the perfect place to be the perfect thing for humans, and we can't live on most of it. Without technology, we can't live on barely any of it. Like it's not only are the oceans completely sort of inhabitable to us, the most of the planet is as well, if you take away the technology that we found out, like without fires, even going up to, past the northern latitudes to say, Europe would have been totally inhospitable, because if we didn't have the fires to keep us warm at night, we would have basically frozen to death. A lot of the Earth is really inhospitable to us. And okay, we use technology to counter for that, but you can't sort of say, hey, it's naturally just like that, if you need technology to make up for it. And of course, we know how evolution works. Not that Matt Powell believes in evolution, but we know how evolution works, that we have... we sort of develop to suit the environment that we're in. The pressures of the environment makes us change to suit. So really, humans are evolved for savanna, hot savanna in Africa. That's what we've evolved for. That's really where we're talking about. Actually, it's really interesting, the problems that it has caused of us, say, standing upright. Very good decision in the long run. We obviously have our hands, which are incredibly powerful as far as tool using creatures, free to do whatever we want. But there's some disadvantages to standing upright, not least of all that, our legs get a lot more pressure. Our knees aren't as great as they could be because they give out towards the later part of your life. Look, seriously, take care of your knees. You will know when they break down. It is rough. But we sort of have these problems as well. There's a lining of your stomach that if your stomach gets pierced, what happens if you're a sort of a supine creature, a creature that's horizontal like a wolf or something? There's a sac which fills the sort of cut, so you don't get basically disemboweled as easily. However, because we're standing up, we have a problem. It doesn't work like that, and it's kind of this outstanding problem. You may wonder why you have some really obvious problems with, say, your aorta in your legs kind of thing. Like, they're very, very easy to cut, and that's sort of a problem with standing up. There's all kinds of issues caused by our sort of bipedalism, that a quadruped doesn't have the same issues. A quadruped mammal, I should be very more precise, doesn't have the same issues. But these things are trade-offs, and I think that sort of when we look at evolution, the trade-off of standing upright, getting that really long line of view over the African savanna, and the ability to use our hands in a very quick and ready way is a huge advantage, because we are tool users.
Amount of information in a single cell is so densely packed that it demands an intelligent mind.
Well, yeah, I mean, so yeah, there's a lot of information in a single cell. I mean, but so densely packed. How dense packing does it require to demand an intelligent mind? You might say, hey, there's an incredible amount of information in the way that a star blinks. It tells us a whole lot, but we don't demand this whole assumption that because there's information, it demands a mind is a bit weird, because this information, it is basically chemical instructions. That's all it is chemical instructions. The whole idea that it's data programmed by somebody, I don't see where they're getting that from. I really don't, because evolution accounts for that way better, especially with the flaws in that information, especially with the way that it sort of does mutate, and it does make these errors, which can be completely catastrophic for it. It is the case that we have a disturbing amount of basically big errors occurring, errors to the point that the system will sort of have a shutdown for cells so that it doesn't reproduce perfectly all the time, because it can't. It's very sort of strange to think that this God programmed all of this, but made such screw-ups. And of course, they just say, hey, it was the fall that did that. Well, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, hey, our genome is so amazingly designed, and then say, well, the fall made all of these problems occur. Well, then it's not amazingly designed. You can't say that it has this amazing design and then say it's incredibly flawed because of sin or whatever, because then you're not seeing an amazingly designed system. It's sort of trying to have it both ways. And the amount of information packed, dude, what are you talking about?
You cannot get information from nothingness. That is foolishness.
You can't get information from nothingness. What is nothingness? Can we have an example of nothingness? I don't understand what that is. It sort of sounds like he's just going back to Lawrence Krauss's A Universe from Nothing. But if nothing is the lack of matter, time, space, and just a quantum field, no energy, no matter, no time, no space, just a quantum field, then you probably can get information from nothing, if that is nothing, because you can still read things on a quantum level. I don't know. I'm not a quantum physicist, but I would imagine you can. But he's not. Nothingness is now a thing. What is that? I don't know.
Number 5, life comes from life. To me, it's much more plausible to believe and assert that life came into existence from a creator rather than life coming into existence from a rock.
So it's really weird because we have all of these. The problem is how you define life. The problem is how you actually say something is alive and something isn't. We do have a criteria for what is alive. Okay, we have a criteria for that. It's sort of being able to respirate or at least, generate energy through some kind of process, being able to move, being able to, there's a whole bunch to replicate things like that. But then you get organisms or sort of organisms which don't actually seem alive. They don't fulfill all of the criteria, right? Like you have viruses. They don't form all of the criteria for life. They're technically not alive. Yet they do things. So can life come from non-life? We don't know. Abiogenesis is being researched, and we have fulfilled a lot of those criteria of what we'd need to produce abiogenesis. So it's being worked on. It's incredibly complicated. But the idea that, oh, this is alive, it's got to come from something that's alive, the question becomes, is God alive? Because if how we categorize life, how we determine what is alive, God doesn't respirate. God doesn't reproduce. It's alive. Yeah. So I don't think God would fit the criteria either, right? So it's movement. Living things can move, whether it's visible or not. Growth, living things grow and develop. Is that God? I don't think so. Reproduction, living things reproduce. God doesn't. He creates things, but that's the same as a human creating a tool. He doesn't reproduce. Metabolism, living things metabolize, which is a process that keeps them alive. God doesn't metabolize. Nutrition, living things take in materials from the environment. Respiration, excretion, does God excrete? If he doesn't, then it's not technically alive. This is what we're talking about. We're sort of saying, he's saying, oh, well, life only comes from other life. But that's not entirely true, because you have all of these things out there like viruses and cancers and all kinds of stuff, which don't meet all the criteria. They found 2 billion-year-old bacteria. Oh, hey, Nitty. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, so absolutely. And Nitty's got a really good point. They're conflating the ideas of what life means. They're sort of conflating the life that we're aware of around us with sort of, any kind of the cutoff between life and non-life is a lot more fuzzy than you think. Because if you apply any of the categories to life that we have, viruses are not alive. 100% not. They don't do any of that stuff. All they do is replicate and sort of, infect other things. Like they are not doing any of that stuff. And plus they're not even DNA. They're like RNA. I think I heard them described by somebody as RNA wrapped in bad news. They are terrible. Viruses are awful. But viruses also might be essential for our survival and development. So, it's a problem. CRISPR's going to change the world, and yep. 2 billion-year-old bacteria. I am interested. Living microbes? Apparently it was published study. So this is Springer Nature. I'm going to download this. 2024 October. I think I saved that. Yeah, I did. Okay. Oh, I've only got the abstract. Oh, no, it's got the whole thing. Okay, so International Continental Scientific Drilling Program, 2 billion-year-old mafic rock. What does mafic mean? Oh, this is interesting. Please tell me what mafic means, computer. Igneous rocks and minerals rich in iron and magnesium. Okay, cool. Clay minerals. Understand. Okay, so the bacteria itself isn't 2 billion years, but there's living bacteria in there. Interesting. Prokaryotic, meaning single-cell organisms, resides in slow under survival mode. Estimated turnover for several thousand million years. Interesting. All right. Well, I'm gonna put a link for the paper. Wow, that's a long link. Holy crap. All right. Well, I'm gonna put a link for the paper in the chat if anyone's interested. Wow, the entire link doesn't fit. That's interesting. That's yeah. Okay. I wonder if I just take that part, maybe. Does that work? Yeah. Yeah. Hold it. I'm just doing some URL foo, some URL shenanigans on this thing to cut it down. There we go. So if anyone's interested, bam, bam. Interesting. Microscopic inspection of drill fluid samples. Microbial cell detection from rock interior. Yeah, so if you want to know what the most successful type of life on Earth is, it is hands down bacteria. Hands down. It's not even close. Bacteria have sort of adapted to all kinds of things throughout the like through the billions of years on Earth. They've adapted to all kinds of things. There's one bacteria. It's something I can't remember the name of it. We found it growing on the inside of nuclear reactors. Growing on nuclear reactors. Yeah, it's kind of a bacteria like the radiation, Dinococcus radiodurans. It's a bacterium and extremophile. It's the most radiation existent. Apparently, its nickname, and I did not know this, is Conan the Bacterium, which is just awesome. Like it'll basically have its DNA scuttled, like absolutely destroyed by the radiation, but it'll scuttle back together and repair itself. It's crazy. We found bacteria living all kinds of places. We cannot exist without bacteria. If you want to know the most successful form of life on Earth, it is not humans, not even close, not even cockroaches. It's bacteria. They are the masters of this world, and will probably be so forever. Just saying, we need bacteria in our gut to survive, to literally survive. We're kind of in a symbiotic relationship with some of them. They can be bad, not saying they're good. Yeah, that is metal tripping. Yeah, it's freaky. It's great. I love it. It's awesome.
Humans have an innate drive for meaning in life. I believe
So what? So what? Humans have an innate drive for meaning in life, therefore God is real. Just because we have an innate drive to find things out, to find meaning, to ascribe meaning to things, to find patterns in things, Why does that mean it's a God is real? Humans also have an innate sort of desire to protect their family. It doesn't mean there's a God out there. Like, come on now. This is how do you frame this? 10 proofs for God that no skeptic can refute. Wow, that is so terrible. Humans get itchy, therefore God. Like, humans have an innate drive for purpose and meaning. Yes, we are pattern-seeking organism. The way our brains work is we put patterns together. That's why you get pareidolia. That's why you get people seeing heads in the clouds, and you can sort of see patterns in things. Like that's what we do. That's how we've survived. Oof.
Every single person in this room is seeking meaning in life. Let me tell you something. If we are seeking meaning in life, that means we were designed by a God who created us with a purpose.
If you are seeking meaning in life, then we were designed by a God with a purpose. I would love to see him bridge that non sequitur somehow. That how does that follow? Like, we want there to be purpose and meaning in our lives. Therefore, a God must have designed us that way. What the hell? No. Hello, Big Bad Mama. So good to see you. Much love. Much love. So, as sort of humans, yeah, we all want to have something that makes our lives meaningful, that makes our lives worth it, that we somehow contribute to the overall we contribute to the world in some way, that we do something. I don't think this is necessarily has to be created in us. It just can be that the way that humans have succeeded is by helping each other, by contributing to that social sort of goal. One of the things that is sort of gives people great joy is helping other people. They're usually the most fulfilling careers. Usually they're the most fulfilling things you can do. I think that, I think it's way more important to do something that provides something for your society than it is to do something that makes a lot of money. Personally, I think that. But not everybody thinks that way. Some people are selfish. Some people don't care about meaning. They just want to enjoy their life. I get that's fine. So this doesn't apply to everybody. But, I think that humans generally, we get a good feeling out of sort of helping our fellow humans because we sort of, that's how humans have survived, and that's how we've prospered. That has been the successful thing to do. So I don't think it's strange that we want a purpose, because if organisms don't have a purpose, then they don't really thrive. They don't really get anything done. So I don't find it surprising at all. It's just he wants to say, hey, in order to have a purpose, it must have been given to you by some imaginary friend. And that is not, like, that's not true. You can have your own purpose and own meaning. You can no matter how small, everyone is valuable. Everybody contributes in some way. At the point that you're contributing negatively, maybe rethink that. Maybe rethink that. If you're a net negative for humanity, I'm looking at you, Trump, and Matt Powell, for that matter. Rethink it. Rethink it. Religion, I get you. What I 100% agree that religions can be like a placebo effect. They can be salving and give people sort of this hope so they don't feel as bad. The problem with that is the same problem with placebos, though. If you think that your snake oil works when you really get sick, you're in trouble. The problem with the placebo effect is that it can help with some things, but when the real critical stuff happens, it will fail because it's not a mind over matter issue. That's the problem.
And if atheism is true and there is no God, there's no meaning in life. And a lot of atheists tell me,
if atheism is true, there's no meaning in life, then why do atheists find a great deal of meaning in their lives? Why do atheists have a lot of goals and, sort of have things they want to achieve? You're sort of saying, hey, ignore that all of these atheists find great meaning in their lives and just trust me that you need a God to do it. And by the way, give me money for my God. Because if you can find meaning without a God, what do you need the church for? Yeah, no worries, what? Yeah, no worries, mate. No, it's a good point. Yeah, it can. So we've had these studies that say, religious people are happier kind of thing. They are less stressed and all of that kind of stuff. And that may well be true. I'm not saying, hey, those studies are wrong. What I'm saying is there's a hidden cost to thinking that, whatever your problems are, they can be handled by the God over there. That if you don't actually, if the God isn't real, then in the short term, it might be good to believe in the God, because over the short term, I might feel a bit better. I may, ignore all of the bad stuff happening because I think some divine guy is going to take care of it. But in the long run, in a species kind of attitude, that is devastating, because we may ignore a lot of the problems that we have because we think that there's someone who's going to take care of it that doesn't exist. That just isn't there. This global warming thing, well, it can't possibly turn into, extreme global warming, because God wouldn't allow that to happen. If the God doesn't exist, then all bets are off the table on that one. So yeah, it can be sort of short term, give you some peace or whatever, but it may be absolutely fatal on the long run. So no one had meaning in their life before Jesus. Yeah.
I make up my own meaning. That's make-believe. They're living in a make-believe world.
If you make up your own meaning, you're living in a make-believe world. I mean, I've been sort of open about what gives me meaning in my life, or at least what I believe in, because I made, and just a little spoiler, I'll put it up soon, but I made a video for recovering from religion, just a little short to sort of try to reach out to people. I've been doing some work for them to try and help them out. Nothing that I boast about, just a bit of work. That we kind of, people get told by pastors like Matt that there's no, atheists don't believe in anything. They don't. They sort of say, hey, atheists, if you don't believe in God, you believe in nothing. And we've heard it before, and we know that it's not true. I believe in a lot of things. I believe that humans can overcome this self-destructive sort of, problems that we have. I think we can balance the sort of prosperity and sort of innovation with taking care of people and, helping those less fortunate. I believe in a lot of different stuff. But they want you to think, with these people, they just don't believe in anything. No. And when you say, your meaning is an illusion, if I say, hey, I care about humans and I want to help people in what I do, I want it to help people and make them feel better, address things like religious trauma and address people that are actually suffering in the world and help them in some way. Is that real? Well, of course it's real. Those people exist. Their suffering exists. It's not like it's not real. It's a very real thing. It's just that we as atheists say, hey, you can make your own meaning. if your life means something to you, then it's real meaning. And if you're there to be a good parent, for instance, it's not like your meaning is illusory, your children are illusory. No, it's not like that. And this is one of the things I want to try and get theists to really understand, that we may believe in a lot of the things you do. I really love the line, and I put it in the short by an artist called Ren. I do love Ren. He's amazing, talented, has so many different talents, really cool, really authentic kind of sound. Really highly recommend. But he said, when asked if he believed in God, because he's made some religious references in his music. And of course, so every Christian under the sun goes, oh, he's Christian, because as soon as they hear any kind of, religious iconography, they immediately jump up and down saying religious, which may not be the case, because, people put it in their songs because it has an impact. It's just, seriously. Anyway, he said, I don't believe in God, but I do believe in people. And there's something there, right? That something hit me about that. I do believe in the, not just people, but the potential of people, the potential of humanity, right? The potential of humanity to go far, far beyond where I think the limitations are. And sort of the potential of humanity to stop our self-destructive nature. I think it is there. I think it's there. It's been rocked a little lately. I won't lie. Considering what's happening, it's been rocked a bit lately, but it is still there. And I have to actually, I do believe in people. I believe that people can be amazing. I mean, they can be absolutely terrible, right? But we can, humans on our best days are incredible. On our worst days, they're horrific. I really love Noam Chomsky, who said that every human has the capacity to be a saint and a gas attendant, basically. We have that capacity, and that speaks more to where we get meaning for ourselves than any kind of imparted meaning by a God. If God is imparting all of this meaning, how come so many people find meaning in terrible things? What was he doing on that day? I don't know. It's weird.
You don't make up your own meaning. You are assigned meaning by the ultimate purpose giver, God himself.
It's so bad. It's so bad. I kind of agree with that. Yeah, I don't like that saying. People can do horrific things for other things than religion. I'm thinking of Stalin here and stuff, and his sort of political, love of power can make people do horrific things. Love of money, it's more power than anything else. But yeah, I don't think religion is required for people to do bad things. I definitely think it's responsible for a lot of it, like it really is. But other things can make people do bad things, for sure.
Himself. Number 7, moral absolutes demand that there is a moral lawgiver. If there is no God, how do you tell right from wrong?
Yeah, so moral laws. I don't think there are any moral laws, right? Like not like laws of physics, like laws of physics kind of thing, right? So he's trying to say of these absolute moral laws. Number one, I don't think he's talking about absolute there, right? So moral absolutes not only so objective morality means that it's regardless of anybody's stance, it is what it is. Absolutes means it never changes either, and that's a problem because of all of the stuff that a God did in the Old Testament. It is a problem. It is a problem. Yeah, I think language. Yeah, I mean, language is kind of. I'm not sure language is innate. I think that communication is innate, and that leads to language. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure Chomsky actually said that, to be honest with you, but never mind. So moral absolutes, though, means they never change and they are set in stone for all of eternity as morals, basically. And sort of, so the problem with that is as soon as you start getting into, say, trolley problems or sort of these conditionals, like, would you pull the lever to kill one person if it saves 5, right? And they would die. When you start to get in these examples, moral absolutes just start to fail, kind of thing. They just start to break down, essentially. So I don't think there are moral absolutes. I think that sort of morals being the code of conduct where we ought to follow, basically we ought to follow, really depends on where you end up or where you want to end up. I think that there seems to be nothing stopping somebody from saying, hey, I want to march on Poland, right? There doesn't seem, they're not like laws of physics where you're like, well, the laws of physics say that you can't fly by flapping your arms really hard, right? The laws of physics preclude it. The morals laws, if there's moral laws, they don't preclude any of this stuff, right? They're not like that. They're more like well, I don't think they're laws. Even the human constructed laws, right? We sort of have laws that say, well, if you go and do X, then you get punishment Y. They're kind of prescriptive. They prescribe a punishment for some kind of transgression, basically. That's what the legal laws, the usual laws now say. But moral laws aren't like that either, because they're not like, if you do this, then this happens. They're more like, this is what you should do. They're prescriptive, but they don't prescribe any kind of punishment. They're more telling you what you should do. So they're not really like the laws we're familiar with, but legal laws, even though they're more prescriptive, they sort of tell you what should happen if a transgression is committed. They're made by humans. We made them up. Like, I'm not saying they're not based upon morals, but essentially we made them up for the functioning of societies. Like, we just invented them. We know they're a social construct. And I think that at least the goal of a moral system, like if you want to reduce suffering, there's certain things you can do that, if you want to reduce suffering, then torturing people is not the way to do it, right? It can't be the way to do it. And that isn't up to opinion, really. That's something set in stone. But I don't see any reason why you would have to go along with that. It just seems like it is a function of the way societies work and the way that humans have evolved. But that's still based upon a stance. It's still based upon your mental framework that we need to survive in societies because that's the best thing for us. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure I would agree that there are moral absolutes. Well, I don't think there's moral laws, much less moral absolutes, because moral absolutes, we would have to be the same as in the Old Testament, basically. Always beyond the, yeah. You pull the lever if God tells you to, essentially. That's the trolley problem solved by the theist. Solved right there. It's no problem because sure as hell have a case. Yeah, that's true. So he may actually believe in moral absolutes, which is incredibly dangerous because a lot of those stuff in the Old Testament is just insane. It's just horrific.
All absolutes demand that there is a moral lawgiver. If there is no God, how do you tell right from wrong?
Yeah, so we intersubjectively decide in society what it is that we're working towards. We kind of go, what do we want to happen? How do we want our society to be? I like human well-being. I think that that is a good utility. But essentially, we're saying, hey, we have something that we decide on. Why do I like human well-being? Because I like my own well-being. I'm a human and I like my own well-being. So I like human well-being because what my well-being doesn't exist in a vacuum. I can't be a well person in a bad society, right? It doesn't work that way. So when we're talking about human well-being, we can then make morals to get us to that goal, and immoral things will take us away from it. Like if I'm interested in human well-being, if I suggest that we drug the population to make them happy and just, have some sort of dystopian future where everybody takes, I remember some computer game where that was happening in it. Like they just gave out this sort of thing to make everybody happy. Or I think it was called Joy. I can't remember. But the whole point is that they would be happy, but they would not be well. Like well-being, we can sort of break that down into physical and psychological health, and some other small things like societal engagements and how we affect one another societally. We can sort of have ideas of what will take us towards that. I don't think that's contentious at all. I think that the entire medical industry, for a start, so medicine and healthcare gets us towards that. I think psychology and psychiatry are understanding what makes somebody well because they have to. And I think that sort of sociology, sort of what makes a society well or not. So yeah, it's sort of this idea of, well, morality is that which gets you towards your goal. I don't see why, if you're interested in your own power, that you can't do that. You can. However, I would say it is immoral. And I think that intersubjectively, so agreed between most people, that if you harm others in order to do well yourself, they will not see it as moral. So it's kind of an agreed upon goal. And that's sort of ethics, what we say is ethics, right? The ethics of the society. Yeah.
It's all subjective. It's all based on feelings. A lot of people will tell me it depends on what our society decides.
Well, it's not based on feelings. Like whether if I have, if I have the goal of human well-being, and it's not based on my feelings that cutting off my head or something is bad for human well-being, right? It's not based on feelings. No, that's not true. Now, is the meta-ethical goal, like, so the goal of human well-being, is that based on feelings? A little bit, yeah. That is. But once we get to that agreement, but it's not just me deciding that, right? I could decide that the destruction of my society is what I want as a goal, and that wouldn't change the overall morality of my society, my country, or my city, or the group that I'm in. It wouldn't change that an iota. So it can't be based on my individual feelings. It's got to be based upon a large majority of people who want the same thing. That's the only way that a society works. So they all care about the society, whether that's a country or whether it's a group or what have you. And so we kind of share that between us and come up with an overall arching goal. And whatever takes us away from that goal, is terrible. Now, as a secular humanist, I see my society as all of humans, all of us. And there's a very good reason for that. That's not really based upon feeling, right? That's not based upon feelings either. What that is based upon is that I'm aware of where we are in the universe, or at least our current position is on a tiny speck of rock, around a sun and, you know, surrounded by the most hostile environment you can possibly imagine. We're kind of a bit precarious. And it may require all of us in order to survive that. I would like that to happen.
Well, in Adolf Hitler's society, it was right to kill Jews, but is it right to do that? No, not at all. There's
no. Number one, a lot of that was based upon his propaganda. He outright lied to people. Number two, his goal was a sort of a 1,000-year right kind of thing. That's what his goal was. He was never going to get to that goal doing what he was doing, because people would stop him. You know, if he stopped at sort of reuniting with Austria and reuniting Germany, he probably would have gotten away with it. That's the thing. You know, I've been watching a lot of, there's a naval strategic advisor in a professor, Sally Payne in the US Naval Academy. She's done things online. Really wonderful mind. She really understands strategic developments, and that's where I heard that. Like if the sort of bad mustache man had, because the first thing he did was reunite Germany with Austria, right? He basically took them over. If he had stopped there, he probably would have gotten away with it. Like if he just expelled all of the Jews from his country and stopped there, he probably would have gotten away with it. And you know, I think that is very, very present. That's the fact that he invaded other countries that was the problem. That would never get him to where he wanted to go for a stable and, you know, productive society. It wouldn't. So even under his moral system, which is incredibly flawed in my opinion, it's still immoral, because it wouldn't get him to where he's going. And you know, the amount of suffering he leveraged on his own people was horrible. And the third thing about that is that usually morality is the code of conduct accepted by all rational people, and I don't think he was rational. Right? I don't think he was rational in the slightest. I think he had a lot of substances that caused him to rock back and forth. If you see the video of Hitler, either he had Parkinson's but he looks off, as we say in Australia, off his nut. He really does. And that is disturbing, right? That is really disturbing. Just, you know, these were the days where you had sort of, yeah, methamphetamines going through the army. Yeah.
no morality to that. That is evil. If there is no God, there's no such thing as evil. And think about this too. And I know we got to wrap up, but if there is no God and evil things happen, how would everything ever be made right?
Well, that's the whole point. Some things aren't made right. The world's unfair. This is my problem with Matt Powell, and this is what a lot of these preachers do. They sort of go, well, you wouldn't like it if the you know, things bad happened and there's no accounting for them at some point. You wouldn't like it. You know, you wouldn't, if you were robbed and there was no justice, you know, you wouldn't like it. Well, it's not about what we like. It's about what happens. It's like sort of saying, well, if you get your car stolen and the police don't find it, you don't like it. So therefore the police can catch anybody. Well, that isn't reality. That isn't the case. We have to deal with what is in front of us. And yeah, sometimes somebody will do, you know, really horrible stuff, not get caught and die. And that's it. The universe has no obligation to be fair and just. But what that does is that it minimizes how important the justice system is. You can sort of go, oh, well, it's okay that the justice system is broken. God will sort it all out at the end. You know, it doesn't matter that, say, somebody is flagrantly and, sort of, just say some person is completely defying the courts and putting through all of these things, it doesn't matter because God will correct it all in the end. Whereas somebody who doesn't believe in God would say, no, these institutions are so important because they are the only justice that's coming. So we've got to preserve these institutions. So yeah, I think that this idea that God takes care of anything really sort of minimizes I guess, the people that believe in it. Sometimes some Christians are fine. Don't get me wrong. They say, hey, these are really important. But some of them are like, well, it doesn't matter if the justice system, God will decide in the end. And I don't think that's the case. You're just, sort of leaving it up to your imaginary friend to sort everything out after we're dead. And I think that that's terrible.
The problem of evil is not for Christianity, it's for atheists. Christianity offers...
No, that isn't the problem of evil, Matt. You've said this before and it's made me laugh. That isn't the problem of evil. The problem of evil is if you have an omnipotent, omniscient, and omnibenevolent, so the God of classical theism, basically the tri-omni God, or even tri-maximally God. The problem is, why do evils exist in such abundance if God has the power to stop them, knows that they're occurring, and is incapable of doing any evil? Because those evils have to be permitted by a God. They have to be. Like, a God has to permit that evil to happen. That is basically it.
Offers a solution that every single wrong that has ever happened in this world will be made right someday. Number 8, we experience love. And let me say this, there is more to love than a biochemical reaction. And if you're married...
Is there? I don't know about that. What is it? Like, it's sort of this appeal to emotion. It's funny how, like, he's saying, oh, all of their stuff is based on emotion. When people say, hey, it's just a biochemical reaction, I don't think just is really, there's no reason to throw the just in there. Admittedly, he didn't. He just said it's a biochemical reaction. But yeah, we care very deeply for our bonded partners, sure. I don't see why understanding that it is a chemical reaction and it is something that is a sort of physical functioning in some way diminishes it, because it doesn't. I don't understand that. Why does love have to be supernatural? And what's love got to do with it? I don't, like, seriously? Because I don't like the idea that love is a biochemical reaction that we can explain, then God must be real. This is a terrible argument. It's basically saying, well, I don't like something, therefore I'm going to believe in a God, so it's not true. Dude, you're deluding yourself. This is wishful thinking. I don't want this to be true, so I'm going to think it isn't. Whether or not you like something, it's got nothing to do with whether it's true or not. It's got nothing to do with it.
Married this morning, or if you have children this morning, or if you have a mom or a dad this morning, you probably know this, that there's more to love than just chemicals. According to Darwinists, we're nothing but chemicals. But
no. According to Darwinists, we're nothing but chemicals. No. That's like saying according to engineers, computers are nothing but silicon. No, it's an important part, but it's not all there is. So biochemical is also the neural connections. And it's important to understand that the way that our brain works, it's not even so much the chemicals and neural connections and stuff. It's also the patterns that they form. Just like a computer program is the patterns that it forms, right? Like it's not like Windows is just zeros and ones. It is when you get down to it, or really electrons, because there's no zeros and ones, but it is, but it's the pattern. It's these emergent properties that we see, right? Like, it's not just that thing. It is a combination of all of them. This sort of reminds me of the don't trust that shirt. He does look like a Mormon. I got to be honest with you. It's a lot like when you sort of say, oh, well, because a computer is made of copper and copper can't process anything, therefore the computer can't. No, that's not what we're talking about here. It is the patterns that make it up. And we have like all of these memories, all of these stored patterns, all of this stuff in there. It's not mystical, but it's more than just chemicals and firing electrons through neurons. It's more than that. It is the patterns that we've developed that create who you are. So he just wants to reduce it to, make this reduction to the most basic elements of it, and say, oh, well, I don't like that. I'm gonna believe in a God because I don't like it. Well, at the end of the day, that's all we found. Okay, you can believe in a soul or a God or whatever you want, but unless you can demonstrate that actually exists, I see no reason to believe it. And the fact that you don't like there not being a God doesn't mean there's a God. Whether you like it or not, it's got nothing to do with whether there's a God or not.
According to the Bible, we were designed with a purpose, and we were designed with the ability to love. If we were just biological machines that are coded with just nothing but genetic material, how is it?
Well, I don't know about coded with nothing but genetic material. I mean, your entire personality comes from what your brain has stored. We know that we can change your behavior and your patterns of behavior through various sort of techniques in psychology. Who you are is very dependent on what experiences you've had in life as well. So it isn't just genetics and chemicals. That's a real reduction of what we're talking about. We're also talking about the imprinted memories of years and years of learning things and that being stored in your brain. Because we know we can change how that behavior and the feelings associated with and the way that the things are firing off by changing your brain and changing how you think about things. There is so much more than he's trying to make out, but he wants to simplify it all. It's the same thing as saying, hey, my computer can't do anything because it's just copper and silicon. Well, yeah, in a way it is, but in a way it's not. It's also all of the programming that's gone into it. And he might not like programming that say, hey, I don't like that. Well, it's tough. It doesn't matter what you don't like. It doesn't matter what you don't like. Oh, I'm getting a very dry mouth. Just 1 second. I'll just see if my wonderful wife is around. She might not be.
That we have the ability to love one another to the point of laying down our lives for each other. How is that possible if we're nothing but...
Yeah. Do you know that animals lay down their lives for each other as well when they are social animals in herds? Okay.
Robots. Do robots give their lives for each other?
Are they intelligent? Are they social robots? I think this analogy, do robots give their lives for each other? What a weird statement to make. Some humans won't give their lives for each other. A lot of them do. It's very strange. Why would you be equating us to robots? If it's AI, then maybe, right? Like you could imagine an AI that has, one AI robot and another one is the key to them flourishing or something. You could imagine one laying down his life to preserve the other one quite easily. It all depends. I don't know why. I don't know why that would be not be a thing.
Number 9, free will. Darwinists believe that there is no such thing as free will. You can go to your university.
No, that's not true. Some people that believe in evolution are determinists, hard determinists. Some are compatibilists, which means they think that free will exists side by side. I lean towards compatibilism. I don't know, though, whether we have free will. I've heard good arguments on either side, to be honest with you. Excuse me. The fact that he's sort of lying to his congregation on what, like, nobody's a Darwinist, okay? Darwinists were back in Darwin's day and supported him, you know, sort of through the origins of evolution. Like, Darwinism isn't even a thing anymore. We don't do Darwinism. Like, he just uses it because he's programmed and sort of convinced his flock to fear the Darwin. You know, that's why he's doing it. He's sort of Darwinism, social Darwinism. You know, Darwinism isn't a thing anymore. We're all the way up to integrated synthesis now. Like, Darwinism isn't really followed by anybody. Neo-Darwinism, yeah. I mean, they just want to associate what they're saying with the big fear they've instilled into their followers, which is Darwin is bad, Darwin awful, Darwin is terrible. And so he'll bring it up to try and trigger that emotional response. Would a sentient robot save another sentient robot if there was advantage for robots in it? Yeah, I'd imagine so. That's the whole thing.
You can ask them and they will say there's no free will. We are programmed by genetic processes through natural selection, and we cannot make choices ultimately. We are just robots. That is not true. Everybody in here knows that we were designed with a free will, that you have the ability to make choices. And if you have...
Everybody in here knows you were designed with a free will. Okay, can you show that? Because you're saying everybody knows it, but if you can't explain it, then what are you doing? I think Aaron Ra sort of says, if you can't show it, then you don't know it. And that's a bit pithy, but I get what he's saying. If you can't show that is actually the case, if you can't justify that's the case, then you don't know it. Because knowledge is generally accepted as justified true belief. If you can't justify it, then you don't know it. So yeah, I would love to hear the justification for that. Justified for how we were designed, except his justification is, well, I believe it to be true. I believe it to be true because I know it, and that's belief. And so I know it. It's ridiculous.
That ability to choose between right and wrong. That means that there is a right and wrong moral lawgiver. And not only that, that also means that you were designed by somebody that gave you the ability to make those choices. Number 10, the human drive for life after death.
The human drive for life after death. What exactly does that mean? The human drive for life after death. Does that mean the human drive to survive? Like, I don't, what are you talking about? This is weird.
Is evidence for God's existence. We were designed with a desire to obtain life after death. Every single religion tries to explain what's going to happen after we die. And this is a wonderful promise, for if we believe that Jesus died and...
Okay, so we don't like dying. That's basically what you say. We don't like dying, therefore, God. What the hell are you talking about? The desire for life after... Whether or not we believe and have been convinced there's life after death in multiple religions doesn't mean there is. The drive for life, our preponderance to believe that we are going to survive death is not a reason why we should believe that actually occurs. I don't. This is another appeal, sort of argument from consequences. Well, I don't like there's death, so I'm going to believe we survive it because that's what I like. That's not an argument for that as the truth. It might be comforting for you, but it is not an argument for why it's truth. It's just that we don't like the idea of not existing. So it's funny because since the dawn of time, people who have sort of wanted to prey on other people and sort of take advantage of them have used whatever those people fear in order to convince them they can overcome it by giving them money. Look at snake oil salesmen, right? You have these people saying, wouldn't it be amazing if you had a cure-all that could just wipe away any kind of illness because you don't like illness? You know, if your dysentery is going to be awful, wouldn't it be great if there was a cure-all, like a snake oil, that could absolutely cure it? This isn't new to humanity. This is the oldest game in the book. The oldest game in the book is telling people what they want to hear. Not what is true, what they want to hear. It's the oldest game in the book. And it's how every con is done. You know, find the lady, you'll get $50. You can follow me. You know, it's a con. It's basically the appeal to consequences is a con job. It's basically saying, wouldn't it be nice? Don't you want there to be a Nigerian prince that would give you $10,000? That is the con. It's the oldest con in the book, and religion is probably one of the origins of it. Wouldn't it? Don't you not want to die? It doesn't matter what you want. Either it is the case or not the case. What you want has nothing to do with it. And we've got to build up this critical thinking that says, hey, what I want has nothing to do with whether that is true or not. And the fact that I want it to be true has no impact. There is a better way to find out if something is true or not. And we've developed a lot of ways. But, you know, religion still tells people what they want to hear.
Rose again. If you believe that this morning, say amen. Jesus died and rose again.
Nobody said amen. Nobody said amen. Or Matt didn't give them the time to. What's going on here?
And so, then also, Aaron, which sleep in Jesus will God bring with him. If there's no God, you'll never see loved ones that you have had pass on in your life that you've loved so dearly. But if there is a God, you'll see your loved ones again someday. Bible says that we have this hope.
Yeah. And that's what they prey on. They prey on hope. So every con man and every confidence job relies on two things: hope and fear. Okay, that's what, and in varying degrees, they will always prey on hope and fear. And religion is the epitome of that: hope and fear. Hope that you'll get something great, fear that you'll get something bad. Carrot and stick. It's a confidence job as old as time. And so they threaten you with the stick, they dangle the carrot. If you believe in this, you'll get the carrot, they say to the donkey. And if you don't try to get it, we're going to give you the stick, said the man to the donkey. You're going to get the hell. You don't want the hell, do you?
That we will see them which sleep in Jesus, and God will bring them with him.
I just love the little music in the background. It's just like, dude, what the hell? I will do another one because I do feel great hanging out with you guys. I do feel fantastic. So I'll share this one instead. I got a couple of these lined up. This one, I think it's his latest. This one is irrefutable proof that God created the world recently. Well, I mean, he's only got one camera, and you have to have it on him, right, Tenebris? If you've only got one camera, it's got to be on you. I must admit, I don't show my live audience either. I got to be honest with you. My massive live audience here, just believe there's like, 200 people in off camera somewhere. There you go. Hold on a second. Yeah, here we go. There we go. There's my audience. Okay. Where's my thing? Yeah, there we go.
Believe that the universe is billions of years old. But the fact of the matter is that we actually find evidence that shows that the Earth and the universe are roughly around 6,000 years old.
The fact of the matter, that is not a fact. That is absolute. Like, the fact of the matter is, like, come on, dude, seriously.
So in this video, I'm going to be presenting you 10 pieces of evidence that show beyond any shadow of doubt that the universe and our Earth and solar system, the galaxies, are young. Evidence.
He likes his 10s, doesn't he? 10 proofs, 10 reasons, 10 things. Yeah, okay, buddy. Okay. I did find a video recently that was like 5 reasons, like 5 questions for atheists. I might do a video on that because it looks interesting.
Number 1 is C14 that we find inside of diamonds. C14 can only last a maximum of 50,000 years. It is constantly wearing out of the material.
Yeah, so this is what their scientists do. They find all of this stuff, and they would take it to their own research labs, and a lot of it is just contamination. Like, their samples have been contaminated, their methodology is poor, they don't actually preserve their samples that well, and they get contaminated because they do, and they want to sort of say, hey, we found this. A lot of the studies that they gave when they found C14, they're just really, really awful. And they never publish them in a peer-reviewed journal. They only publish in their own sort of religious journals because they, we're very aware that their methodology is terrible.
That it inhabits. And so if you're finding C14 inside of diamonds and it only lasts 50,000 years, why is it still in there? Some Darwinists will assert that the diamonds could have been contaminated with C14 from the atmosphere. But number 1, they're buried usually deep within the earth. They cannot be contaminated by the atmospheric pressures of C14 getting put into the ground. And number 2,
well, why do you never publish what it is that you've found? Right? They never publish them. They always keep them in-house. They never allow other people to go out there and independently review them. It's because their methodologies are flawed, and they open them up and they go, oh, this C14 is still there. How many samples? Where are they from? They just sort of make these assertions, put it on answers in Genesis, and just basically call it a day. They don't actually want anybody to investigate it, because we can go and get more samples. We can check the methodology. We can see, because if there's C14 in one diamond at that location, there should be C14 at other diamonds in that location. So if it's not contamination, we should be able to find that. But you don't want anybody to do that, and that's a problem. I really think that we can examine the diamonds and see if there's any like microscopic fractures that and so also the problem is that C14 you can only do radiocarbon on living organisms. So how does that work? Organic things. So how does that work?
Diamonds are actually made up of the most compact atomic particles in the entire world. Even with our most high-tech instruments, we have a hard time breaking through them. And so nothing can really penetrate diamonds. And so to assert that diamonds were contaminated with C14 from the atmosphere is false. And
you can have sort of microscopic fractures in the diamonds that you can't see with the naked eye. That's the whole point. We have to examine them and find out if they do have any fractures. We have to examine them. But C14, I think, if that is true, then we should get C14 in all diamonds, and we should be able to go and find it in all of the diamonds there. But we don't. It's only occasionally. But I don't know why. Like, you'd have to be examining the bacteria in the diamonds, right? The whole point is that it's basically comparing the C14 in the atmosphere against it in that living organism. So it only stops accumulating C14 when it dies. I'm not sure how he's doing this, but of course he's not sort of giving any idea of the process that they went through. He's just sort of saying it. And I don't think that's true.
Shows us that these rocks were in fact created recently. Evidence number 2 would be helium inside of rock crystals. The helium bubbles within these rocks are slipping out of them over time, and they will not remain in zircon much longer.
Helium in zircon? Zircon, I mean, it's interesting. I don't know why he's missing it, but zircon crystals are sort of they are a good evidence of a old Earth, actually, because they basically, you get uranium lead dating, which means that the uranium zircon can't form with any lead in it. So we know that when the uranium forms, there is no lead in that zircon crystal. So we can do uranium lead dating as an absolute method. Yeah, yeah, so apparently radiation damage can cause helium atoms to become trapped in damaged region, which leads to inhomogeneous helium storage. So it's only under, ordinarily helium would diffuse from zircon, sure. But if a section is damaged, apparently it can create a sort of solid, airtight area that helium can't escape from. So yeah,
will have exited the rock in just a few thousand years. And so is it possible that zircon crystals could be billions of years old? The fact of the matter is that God created these rocks fully formed and put time clocks on them to give us evidence that we were in fact created recently.
Put time clocks on them. What time clocks would that be? Because all of geology thinks that, you know, the overlapping types of radiometric dating, and it's not just C14, that's just radiocarbon. There's also potassium, argon, there's uranium lead, there's argon. There are tons of different dating methods with overlapping times, and we use multiple different methods to arrive at those times. So yeah, I don't know what you're talking about when you're saying the clocks, and it's interesting that you won't publish any of this stuff. You'll just assert it to be the case.
Evidence number 3, dinosaur soft tissues. We actually find dinosaur blood cells, collagen from
Okay, so this is going to be Mary Schweitzer, right? Mary Schweitzer has been quite clear on where she stands on this argument, that she wants young earthers to stop using her research. So when we say soft tissue, that is not what we're talking about, right? We're talking about collagen, which is a soft tissue, but it's not like it's blood vessels. No blood was found, nothing like that. Basically, she had to bathe this stuff in acid for even get any or try to get anything out of it. It really is a fringe case of something lasting way longer than we thought it did. And to be perfectly clear, Mary Schweitzer changed how we think about the preservation of soft tissues. But it did not show that the Earth is less than 5,000, 6,000 years old. It doesn't do that. And Mary Schweitzer is very clear. Stop saying that, because it doesn't. What it does is update how we consider the preservation of some of these materials. But to say that it was like in a soft state, no, it wasn't. It was highly fossilized. She had to do acid baths to get it to a point where she could even identify the soft tissue. Like, it really was, a mostly fossilized sort of tissue. It's not what you think it is.
We actually find dinosaur blood cells.
No, you did not find blood cells. No. They did not find blood cells. She's made that perfectly clear. There were no blood cells. There was fossilized blood cells, but not like you did not find blood cells there. No. Like you can see the patterns that they leave when they are fossilized. That doesn't mean they're blood cells. It means they're fucking rock. They're minerals. They're being mineralized. They're fossils. They're not. Wow.
Collagen from dinosaur bones. We also find C14 inside of dinosaur bones. Remember, C14 only lasts.
Oh, Stacy, that is hilarious. Like, so what Stacy's referring to is they had somebody give them a picture of a pterodactyl with Confederate soldiers, and it was just a Photoshop, and not even a great Photoshop. It was just Photoshop, and they absolutely bought it. Like, they bought it hook, line, and sinker. It was hilarious. That was funny.
50,000 years. And so we're finding all sorts of biological material that shows us that dinosaurs did not die out millions of years ago. If you dug up blood cells from any...
No, they did die out millions of years ago. The question is, here's the question. If dinosaurs were around at the same time as, say, Neanderthal or all of these other, like, mammoths and things like that, then why can we get DNA samples from the mammoths and the Neanderthals, but we can't get DNA samples from dinosaurs? Because we don't have any. They don't exist because they're fossilized. They don't exist anymore. If all of these things in the past came from about the same time, why can't we get any of the dinosaur DNA? We've found enough fossils, right? Like, we found all of these dinosaurs. Well, why can't we get samples? It's very, very strange. It's very strange.
Animal in your backyard, you probably wouldn't assume that it died millions of years ago. The evidence would suggest that it died recently. Evidence number 4, we find...
What? No. Like, what? If you found something in your backyard? No. We haven't dug up blood cells from dinosaurs. No, absolutely not. Like, this is the thing. They've just taken Mary Schweitzer's research and basically just used it to confirm whatever we have.
Human and dinosaur footprints in the same rocks. And in fact, the Delk prints show...
The Delk prints. Yeah, that looks really realistic, my guy. Really realistic. I got to look this up. Yeah, it's basically showed in the Creation Evidence Museum of Texas. It comes from the Paluxy River, of course, because of course it does. So the museum claims that the fossil has been CT scanned 800 times, and it's not possible that it was carved or altered. PZ Z. Myers, who is a biologist, has weighed in on it, and the fossil is a fake. The human footprint has toes like tubes, and the dinosaur footprint is basically a 3-pronged flat plate. Yeah. But of course, they won't allow people to actually study it. They just keep it in their museum. But these toes are not realistic to what we would find in a human footprint. And the dinosaur track isn't realistic either. That's the thing. It's not realistic either. Joe, theist channels have lots of guidelines, mate, like no blasphemy and things like that. When I go into some theist channel and they say no blasphemy, no swearing, nothing like that, I follow the rules of the channel. So, it'd be nice if you did too. That would be really cool. So basically, it's not a lot. It's just no preaching, no disrupting the chat, and be polite to people. That's about it. It's not hard.
Shows that a human stepped into what was soft mud at the time first, and then a dinosaur actually stepped over the human footprints, and then it solidified into a trace fossil.
Okay. So you're telling me on the mud, right? On the mud, the human footprint went as deep as a dinosaur. Are you telling me that a human made a footprint this deep and then a dinosaur made a track the same like a 10-ton dinosaur made a footprint the same depth as a human. Sure thing. Yeah.
Shows that a human stepped into what was soft mud at the time first, and then a dinosaur actually stepped over the human footprints, and then it solidified into a trace fossil. CT scans have been done to verify the validity of the Delk prints.
Well, they're saying 800 CT scans have been done, but it hasn't been done by anybody independent or anybody sort of, anything like that. It's just, yeah. Like, you haven't actually given it to any people that have any expertise. You've just said it's been CT'd 800 times. Okay.
And believe it or not, it is legitimate. We find many of these human and dinosaur footprints in the same layers of strata. Evidence number 5 would be short period.
Well, the famous one from Paluxy River, the Paluxy River tracks, they were sort of saying, hey, one's a shoe or a sandal that the person is wearing, but it's not. What it is a dinosaur track, and the toes have collapsed inwards. Like, it isn't actually a dinosaur track. A human track. And that's the famous one. And then this guy comes out with this sort of obvious fake that he says, oh, it's been, CT'd and it's definitely real, but won't, he'll keep it in his own museum to make a buck, but he won't actually give it out to anybody to have a look at.
Comets. While comets go through their orbit, they burn up and they disintegrate. And so short period comets can only last about 10,000 years before they've completely deteriorated. And so how could the galaxy be billions of years old when there are materials that are floating about in space that only last a maximum of 10,000 years? And so this also is great evidence.
It was bigger. That it was bigger in the past. Like, why, what? How big did it start out as? 10,000 years. Short-term comets only last 10,000 years. Okay. Oh, but some of them come out the Oort cloud. Okay. Oh, so some of them are caused by breakups and collisions. I didn't know this, actually. The nucleus of some comets made fragile, conclusion spurred by the observation of comets splitting apart. Comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 had a close encounter. July 1992 had broken into pieces. These pieces fell into the atmosphere. So comets can be bigger, and they do split up, making short-term comets. So it's not like things are just what they are and sort of, that's all that they do. They collide with things. Things are knocked off. Comets come into our solar system, possibly from other places. The universe is a violent place. There's stuff being thrown around all the time. There's no reason to assume that these comets, that no new comets can appear because of, physics, essentially things acting upon one another.
That shows us that the world is not billions of years old. Evidence number 6 is Earth's magnetic field. Believe it or not, the magnetic field is actually getting chopped in half every 1,400 years. And the magnetic field is...
Yeah, so we basically talk about this as in the Earth's magnetic field reversal. Yeah, it does diminish over time, and then it seems to reverse, we believe, because of the way that iron is orientated in some rocks. It believes to reverse, and then it picks back up, basically. So this is something that has occurred before, and we know it's occurred before. So, this whole thing that the magnetic field is weakening, so it couldn't have been there. no, it doesn't. It's fluctuations. It doesn't mean it goes away entirely.
Very important because it protects us from deadly radiation from the sun. It keeps us from being bombarded with space dust and wind from space. And so if Earth's magnetic field is getting weaker, and every 1400 years it gets chopped in half, in about 2000 years, we would not be able to survive because the Earth's magnetic field would not be strong enough to protect life from radiation. That presents a real problem for Darwinism. We are right at the end of our rope, even if Darwinism is true. And think about this too.
Yeah, so it weakened significantly, like about 591 million years ago, I'm reading. So basically it was 30 times weaker than it is today. The field was as strong as it is today 2 billion years ago. So it fluctuates and weakens and gets stronger. That's the whole point. It doesn't like they just see the time frame over what they want to believe and say, oh, it's going to get weaker and vanish, so it can't be that old. No, we've got fluctuations. It gets stronger then weaker. The fact that we're on a decline for it doesn't mean that it just has to get weaker and weaker and weaker. That's not necessarily the case. But yeah, if it is getting weaker, it definitely sort of it would be a problem. Yeah. But that's no reason to think there's a God. I don't understand how that sort of, he's trying to say, hey, the Earth's young because it couldn't constantly have been getting weaker. Well, we don't think that's the case. We don't think it's constantly getting weaker. So this is sort of just a straw man of what they're actually saying happens to the Earth's magnetic field.
If you go back 10,000 years, the Earth's magnetic field would have been much stronger. And in fact, it would have been so strong that it would have killed all life on the Earth. And so we need the magnetic field in order to...
I don't think that's true. I don't think it was significantly stronger. Like it's sort of weakened a long time ago, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think that it's been pretty stable, but weakening. What?
Survive, and it has to have just the right amount of strength. And if it's too strong, we will die. If it gets too weak, we will die. Life has not existed on this planet for billions of years. Evidence number 7 is mutations.
Well, actually, 2 billion years ago, it was actually a lot weaker. And, no, life has not existed on this planet for literally billions of years. It's like 1.6 billion, I think, 1.7 billion. So billions of years? No, not really. I think 1 point something billion years. Yeah. I don't. Oh, actually, it's 3.7 billion. There you go. But the whole point is actually 3.7. Yeah. Okay. So, it has been weakened. The thing is that life is a bit more robust than you think it is. Like earlier, I was talking about that bacteria which can live on the inside of nuclear reactors. Even though we thought that bacteria could not survive, their DNA could not survive the bombardment from nuclear reactors. It would destroy their bacteria. Their DNA repairs itself. It basically puts it back together and it's fine. It can survive on the inside of nuclear reactors. Life is a lot more robust and extremophiles exist. It's a lot more robust than what we thought. Water bears are amazing. The little God, I've had a mental blank. What are they? Tardigrades are incredible. They can handle all kinds of stuff that we thought was absolutely impossible. And they're not even a single-celled organism. They're actually a multicellular organism. Tardigrades are insanely cool.
Mutations actually are what cause us to wear out and die. Our genetics copy,
yes.
And we end up copying so many errors of our previously existing genomes, and we die that way.
Yeah, that's sort of how natural selection works. Those errors build up, and you essentially will get a bunch of organisms that don't survive to reproduce, and that is what takes those errors out of the gene pool when they build up sufficiently. We've got to offset that with the occasional very, very beneficial ones that give the organism such a leg up in survival that they put that into the gene pool, that they basically distribute that among the gene pool. So a lot of the time they want to talk about mutation rates, and do notice if that comes up, mutation rates. They don't really matter. That's the thing, because natural selection will account for that. They will take them out. What matters is the substitution rate, how often those mutations are being put into a phenotype, how much they are actually being fixed in the population. That's the important thing.
And according to Darwinian evolution, mutations are actually what cause us to get better. Beneficial mutations get selected and create better organisms. But even if you get beneficial mutations, the fact of the matter is mutations themselves are copying errors. They're causing us to die.
Yeah. And when we die, we don't reproduce. I hate to break it to you, Matt, but dead things don't reproduce. So if you do get a lot of these errors build up, you won't make it to the point that you will reproduce. It's brutal and sucks, I know, but that is the case. That is the whole point. Like, if you get small mutations, you can probably survive, like even harmful ones. You can probably survive to reproduce. That's fine. You know, if they're only slightly detrimental, sure, you can. If you get a lot of slightly detrimental mutations, they will be weeded out, because you will not only lose to the people that don't have those deleterious mutations, you will definitely lose to the one without the deleterious mutation and some really good beneficial mutation. For instance, the nylonase, the organism that evolved the ability to eat nylon, or nylon waste that we found in a sort of off flow from a nylon factory. It just came up with the ability to eat nylon waste. Is that a huge advantage? Yes. Yes, that is. When you live in a pool of nylon waste, being able to break it down and eat it is a massive, massive advantage.
And our genomes are wearing out from generation to generation, and we are getting more and more diseases. And so even if...
No, they're not wearing out, and we're not getting more diseases. Through medicine, our tolerance for detrimental mutations is growing. But I mean, when we actually start to implement things from CRISPR and be able to address some of these, we can remove some of them. The problem with CRISPR is that CRISPR basically wants to try and put them back. It's very, very difficult to do, but we're starting to learn how to do it. You know, and what's hilarious is that these like re-emerging sort of these re-emerging diseases, some of them are because you guys won't take vaccine. Polio, we had actually finished. Smallpox is finished. Look, the reason why these things are drug resistant is because of evolution. That's why they're drug resistant, because they evolve a resistance to the drugs that we're using. Now, there's ways around that. We can use something different. But yeah, yeah.
You have beneficial mutations, it doesn't rule out the fact that a whole lot of deleterious mutations are getting poured into the genome, yes, and they're not getting weeded out by natural selection.
That's humans at the moment. They still are. It's just that our tolerance has grown a lot higher because a lot of them we can compensate for. Like if somebody has some kind of, you know, genetic defect, we can usually compensate for it and give them a life where they can have children. It doesn't mean that the ones that are, you know, very deleterious aren't weeded out, because they are. You know, if a child has a genetic defect and has something like leukemia as a kid, they probably will not survive, which is rough and unfortunate. It's terrible. I don't, you know. Yeah.
If the human genome is wearing out, it shows us that we would have started out with a better genome thousands of years ago, and that we would have degraded since, which is what we do observe in science.
A better genome. This is devolution or de-evolution or whatever the hell they want to call it. It's like genetic entropy, which isn't a thing. Like all of their studies on genetic entropy that the creation thing has brought out, they've made a fatal flaw, and that's treating the mutation rate, the substitution rate as the mutation rate. So there's no natural selection going on at all, which is ludicrous. It is so silly. It's such a fatal flaw. And, you know, they make these excuses for it and say that they're doing it right. No, they're not. They're not.
But according to Darwinism, we are becoming better. As natural selection selects those beneficial mutations, we are becoming stronger. Well,
define better and stronger. More adapted. Like, because here's the thing. They use better and stronger, but it means more fit means just better suited to your environment. Yes, we are. I don't know what he's talking about. It's weird.
Science is showing us that we are becoming weaker. We are descendants of Adam and Eve.
What do you mean by weaker? Like, I don't understand what he means by weaker. Because like, weaker how? Like, I don't understand this. It's so weird. It's sort of like, what do you mean people are less physically strong? We would kind of expect that as we go into automation and things like that. There should be less strong. I don't get what he's saying. Like, I don't understand what he's saying. If you're saying we're less adapted to our environment, well, maybe not. I don't know. Baffling. Like, he hasn't actually defined what he means by weaker, so I don't know what he's talking about.
Human ancestors. And on a common sense level, saying that we descended from a fish makes no sense.
On a common sense level, what are you talking about? This is like a flat earther saying, on a common sense level, you look around and see a flat earth. Like, no. Like, the thing that I've learned over talking with a lot of people like this is that this common sense, it's not very common, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. We don't say, hey, common sense says this. All that is, hey, my intuition says this. That's basically what he's saying. He's saying intuitively, it doesn't make sense that I come from a fish. I would agree. But intuition isn't great for getting accurate results. Intuition is used for making quick decisions, not investigation and analysis. You know, it's sort of, my gut feeling says that this person isn't trustworthy. Like, yeah, sometimes you're right, sometimes you're not. Well, I'm sorry, but sometimes you're just not. There are counterintuitive things, right? Things that are counterintuitive. They go contrary to what our intuition says they should be. Intuition can easily be fooled.
Whatsoever. Evidence number 8 would be the rings of Saturn. Saturn's rings are actually dispersing, and they are moving away from the planet. And it shows that they could not have existed for millions of years. So how did they get there? Darwinists claim that Saturn's rings formed recently by some sort of event. And so they're coming around to the idea that Saturn...
Well, I mean, recently, it isn't like recently as in, you know, a few thousand years ago. Recently is like millions and millions of years. Like, we're not saying recent. Like, whenever we say recently, this guy goes, oh, you mean within the last, 2,000 years? No, not like Jesus lived recently. No. Hundreds of millions of years. And that is recent when you compare it with something like the age of the universe at like 4.6 billion years old kind of thing. Like, it's a relative. Recent is relative, right? So if the age of the Saturn's like 4.6 billion, few hundred million is recent. Aye.
Rings aren't as old as previously thought, and through that, they are lending legitimacy to the arguments that we're making about a young universe.
No, they're not. When they're saying, hey, they're younger than we thought recently, they're like, oh, instead of, 300 million, we're thinking 200 million. It's not even in the ballpark of 5,000 or 10,000. My guy, my brother in Christ, stop. Like, you're not going to get there by saying, hey, they've reviewed it a little and it's younger. Yeah, Yeah, it's still hundreds of millions of years old. You're not getting to 5,000. What the hell? Yeah. But see, the thing is, if you assume that the rings came from Saturn, like the planet itself, and some event caused this debris around the planet, yeah, that fits. But if you want to say that the universe is 5,000 to 10,000 years old, you would have to claim that the rings were created already around it, because there wouldn't be enough time for it to disperse into what we see. So, like, you're sort of saying, hey, the rings were magically created by a god, already round there. It's like, dude, what? What?
The fact of the matter is that the planet and its rings were created in the recent past,
Yep.
and not from a cosmic explosion that occurred 13.7 billion years ago. Evidence number 9 is the warm interior of Pluto. Scans have been done to Pluto, and they've found that it's actually very warm on the inside. And so could it have stayed at that temperature for deep time? If you came home from work and you saw food on the table and steam was coming off of that food, you wouldn't assume that it was created yesterday. You would understand that food...
No, that's because food cools and it's exposed to the outside. We're talking about a planetary core. It's got it. So the pressure, like our own core, if you've got a metal core that's being subject to pressure, it will stay hot for a long time because it's being compressed by gravity. Like this entire thing is like, oh, well, if Pluto was a steak and steak cools down, then Pluto should cool down. What are you talking about? I don't know. It's so weird. I don't know that Pluto is hot. I really don't know that. Does it have a hot core? Okay. Despite its extremely cold surface, evidence suggests that Pluto's core is likely warm, possibly even hot. Yeah, so we're not talking about incredibly hot. We're talking it might be warm, which is, yeah. Attributed to internal heat sources like radioactive decay and tidal heating. Yeah, it's most likely just radioactive decay, which is what happens when you have compressed metals inside of a... wow.
Was probably prepared by your loved one.
Yeah, Pluto. This is completely analogous to a planet. Absolutely. What the hell, Matt? Oh, wow.
In the recent hours of the day. If Pluto was billions of years old, it would have been completely cooled at this point. It's much more plausible to suggest...
No, because heat's also generated by radioactivity. It isn't just sort of that sort of things are just heated at the start and then they just cool off. No, there's other forces going on here. Radioactive decay can cause a great deal of heat as that decay throws off alpha and beta particles. They hit things, causing it. I mean, this is how fission works, basically. These colliding particles cause energy to be released as they're annihilated, and that causes an incredible amount of heat. Not that many particles are thrown off, but it could definitely heat, or they don't even know that it's hot, Matt. They basically say that it's warm.
That it was brought into existence only thousands of years ago. And evidence number 10 is star deaths. In a galaxy, roughly every 25 years, a star will die. And when it dies, it explodes. And we refer to it as a nova or a supernova. When we look in our galaxy, the Milky Way, we can only find about 200 dead stars. But if the cosmos were to have existed for billions of years, you would find hundreds of thousands of dead stars all throughout our galaxy. And if you look at other galaxies, you'll find that there's roughly 200 dead stars in each galaxy. And so what that proves, beyond any shadow of doubt, if one star is dying per 25 years per galaxy, and there's not hundreds of thousands of dead stars all around us, which there should be, then it shows us, beyond any shadow of doubt, that the universe, the cosmos, the galaxies were created recently, folks. And I want us to really think about...
Okay. So, for a start, stars have variable lifetimes, incredibly variable lifetimes. There may have been a lot less star deaths in the past. and as we go along, their times run out. I think that can last anywhere from like up to trillions of years. Like it you know, it's yeah. But there's a few ways that they die. Some of them collapse, and then we see dead stars. When they go supernova, they fucking explode, Matt. They explode, and they toss everything out. Right? That's what happens, because we've seen it happen. So this kind of thing, but well, we don't see a lot of these dead stars. Yeah, because a lot of them fucking explode, Matt. They explode. It's called a supernova. That's how we got all the elements everywhere. I don't.
This. The Big Bang supposedly contained all of the matter and energy in the world,
Yes.
and that dot of energy.
Well, not just in the world. I mean, that's just one planet. It contained all them. Well, all of the energy. I'm not like matter probably wasn't there at the start of the Big Bang, because the Big Bang was the start of matter, basically. So, you know, we don't know what was before the Big Bang, but it's likely that there wasn't matter at that point. There was likely no space and time at that point. So we sort of got to ask what actually was there. It's a very odd thing to imagine, but we don't know. You know, he keeps going to a universe from nothing. I mean, that was Lawrence Krauss saying, hey, it could have been a quantum vacuum, basically an area with no space-time, matter, or energy, just basically this quantum state, which he called nothing. I don't know. And I think that was only a hypothesis. We're not saying that for sure. But I think this whole thing of compressed matter, no, I don't think so. I think at that point it was just energy. And I think it was quantum plasma. It was in a plasma state. So, you know, even the idea of energy, it's actually plasma. Now, I'm not a physicist. I've sort of listened to physicists, but I'm not a sort of physicist, but sort of a charged energy state in plasma form is not the same as matter. I'm sorry, Matt, it's not.
They claim exploded and created time, space, and nature.
No, it didn't explode. That's a straw man again. It expanded. So it's an expansion event, not an explosion. That's a really bad term to use that they keep using because they want to make it sound, you know, like an actual explosion. No, that's not what we're talking about.
But would it be possible to take a rock this small and over time just let it morph into a rock this large? It would not be possible.
Well, no, it's not possible, because that's matter and we have the electrons. Look, if you took all of the space in that rock and removed it, like, you know, most of atoms are empty space. Okay, they don't pass through one another because of the electrons around them, but most of that rock is literally just nothing. You could compress it. If you removed all of that, you could compress it into almost nothing. I don't know why he's sort of saying, hey, because we can't get this rock in this rock, then, like, they're not rocks. We're talking about a plasma. We're talking about a plasma, a highly compressed sort of plasma. Why are you comparing matter to this? I don't understand.
The Big Bang never happened. The reason that I made this video is because many people will end up going to college and they get indoctrinated by Darwinian evolution, and they will end up rejecting the Bible as being true. Well, let me tell you, God's word is the truth. And we have the scientific evidence to back that up, that beyond any shadow of doubt, the world was created recently. And that,
yeah, you have to show that, not just claim it. This is the thing. Even if you manage to show that, you know, Big Bang didn't happen, or all of the scientific theories are wrong. And this is the problem with young Earth creationists. Someone brought up flat earthers. Yeah, young Earth creationists are the same as flat earthers, right? You can't show that the Earth is flat by simply disproving another thing. You can't show that the Earth is 5,000 years old by disproving that it's billions. You have to show your own evidence for that. And that's something they never want to do. the flat earth and never wants to talk about evidence for the flat earth. They only want to attack the globe model. Young earthers never want to talk about the evidence for their young earth. They just want to attack the current model. It's exactly the same. What the scientists are doing is they're finding the evidence and the scientific principles that show the age of the earth. They're not going, around attacking the young earth model because they don't have to. They have their own evidence that they've come up with. But this is what people like the young earthers do. And then they project, they say, oh, you're indoctrinated kind of thing. No, this isn't doctrine. This isn't dogma. We're not taught that this is absolutely the case. We're given the methodology of how to find these things out. Like, Matt doesn't give you a methodology for actually going out and testing this. There's no falsifiability. All he's just saying is it is so, which is so laughable because they're the ones doing the indoctrination. They are absolutely trying to get young people in on their side because they think it's just a competition of who can indoctrinate more. It is not. It is a competition of who has the better methodology. And these idiots, they're going up to try and compare their methodology of my book says so with science. I hate to tell you this, guys, you're losing badly because our methodology is not, hey, a science book says it. It is a system of observation, questioning, testing, retesting, peer review. It is all of these things, and it is kicking your ass. And I know you hate that. That is the way that it is. And so a question I like to ask theists is, what this, like, you claim to have access to an all-knowing superpower, something that knows everything about everything. So what discoveries about the world around us has your religion made in the last 2,000 years? What has it told us about the world around us? What discoveries has it made? Nothing. The people who claim to have a direct line to the omniscient superpower in the universe have not discovered or explained or showed to us how anything works in the world. Don't you think that's a problem? Don't you think that's strange? That you have direct line to the people, a God who knows everything, and the religion that you belong to has not explained a damn thing. Ever. All you can talk about is stuff that we can't see, you can't prove, and is completely unfalsifiable. We can't test it. Great. But I doubt that you have access to somebody that knows everything in the universe, because you can't even tell us about our own planet with any degree of confidence whatsoever.
We descended from two people, not a jellyfish, and that all life did not share a common...
No one thinks we descended from a jellyfish. What are you talking about? Wow. Jellyfish split off ages ago. This is just not... Like, it's amazing that these people work trying to debunk evolution and they don't understand anything about it. It's crazy, right? At least I understand something about Christian. I'm not even a Christian, and I understand a lot more about Christianity in the Bible than a lot of Christians do, because they don't read it. It's insane. It literally is insane. And then you come out with, we descended from a jellyfish. Wow. No one is saying that, Matt.
An ancestor, but that we were intelligently designed. That's what science has actually shown us. All of this other...
Yeah, our design's not that intelligent, mate. It's not that intelligent. I love the recurrent laryngeal nerve that goes all the way around our aorta near our heart and all the way back up to, like, cross about that far. To terrible design, horrible design. The fact that we have a windpipe and a esophagus that sort of share a space so we can get food down there to choke to death. Yeah, not so great a design, mate. Not so fantastic.
Conjecture that Darwinists are proposing about the origin of life is not true. It is verifiably false, and we can know for a fact that God created the world and in the recent past. God bless.
Yeah, it's not verifiably. Not verifiably true at all. It's, in fact, it's verifiably that evolution is actually true. So evolution is both a fact. Oh, my camera has gone really terrible. Give me a sec. I'm going to fix this because I like to be sharp. I like to be sharp. There we go. Kinda. Anyway, yeah. So evolution is a fact. So evolution, being in its purest sense, is allele frequency change over time, or better yet, to sort of explain to theists, is the change of heritable characteristics over time, which we see every day. You know, dog breeders know this, cow breeders know this. We always got to see it. They might have a problem with the theory of evolution, which is how we explain it. It is the model in which we have described how evolution works. Evolution does occur. It is a fact that it occurs. The theory of evolution you might disagree with, but we have a mountain of evidence for that. So much evidence, it's ridiculous. Now, people like Donnie and you know, presumably Matt here, they will come up with these reasons why it can't be true. But what you've got to understand is they're basing that reasoning first and foremost on that the Bible and their interpretation of it is true. It's not going from a place of observe the world around us, find out how we test it, find out how we do novel, predictable tests to see if it works, study, repeat, rinse and repeat over and over until we falsify everything but the truth. That is not what they're doing. They're saying, okay, we've got a book here. We believe it. We have to believe it. Now, what can I find to support that and try and knock down evolution? Well, they can't find anything to support it. There's nothing at all to support it. So what they've got to do is try and knock down evolution. And it is this sort of pernicious and repugnant sort of attack on our scientific systems that is terrible. I'm not saying you can't believe it, but if you go into a science classroom, that is science. That is a scientific theory. It would be like a flat earther going, well, I don't want my kids to learn about a heliocentric globe earth model. No one cares. Science doesn't care about your religion. It just doesn't. It will present what we have found through the scientific method. And you can believe whatever you want, and you can go to theology and have that taught to you. But that's not for the science classroom. Just if you're a flat earther, you can believe that if you want. You can believe it as much as you want, but it's not going to be in a science classroom, right? It's just not. That's for science. And scientifically, we have found that evolution is 100% true, and there's a ton of evidence for it. Mostly, you know, I mean, genetic evidence alone would absolutely destroy young Earth creationism. Absolutely destroy it. Just genetic evidence alone. And I know that they come up with this stuff like, oh, but you know, we were designed to have similarities and stuff. I mean, seriously, how do you know that? How can you prove that? You can't. So what the game is just like flat earthers, you have to say, hey, you can't prove that this thing, you know, and basically make it so this extreme skepticism. Oh, you can't prove the globe is flat. You can't prove that it's not a worldwide conspiracy to make the globe flat. You can't prove that it's not a worldwide conspiracy to of all of the scientists to show that this stuff, this evolution is real because it's Satan and they're doing all this stuff to try and make us not believe in. But come on, you are like flat earthers. Seriously, wake up. This isn't a conspiracy. It isn't it isn't some kind of, you know, thing to make people believe something. Evolution isn't necessarily a good thing. They're like, well, if evolution's true, it's a bad thing. Yeah, no joke. It's not great for us. It's an inconvenient truth. It's not something we want to be true like you guys are doing. You guys are saying, hey, I want there to be life after death. I want there to be Jesus. I want that. That's not what we're doing. We're saying, what is the actuality, whether we like it or not? Stop wishful thinking. Reality does not change because you want it to be so. It just doesn't. Wake up. Somebody is selling you a con. They're saying, hey, wouldn't you like it if there's life after death? Wouldn't you like it? You always know a con when someone is saying, hey, wouldn't you like it if this was correct? If someone's being serious with you, they will say, this is correct because of these reasons. We know it because of this. This supports us. Here's the methodology that we used. Not this whole thing of, oh, but if there's no God, then injustices never get sorted out. That isn't even an argument. That is wishful thinking. It makes no difference what you want. That it makes no difference. Don't disabilities? No, because they just blame that on the original sin and a fallen world. So anything that sort of is, unfortunate, that looks bad design or looks terrible, because, you sort of go, well, how come there is so much of this stuff? They say, hey, it's a fallen world. It's all sin. I know we said it was perfect, but it's not now. It was before. Well, that's kind of a circular argument, isn't it? Like, it was perfect before, this because the book says, and it's a fallen world. No, according to them, it's not. It's kind of wild. Anyway, I think that'll wrap it up. I can't take too much of Matt Powell. I really can't. I'm not going to say he's stupid. I did call him stupid earlier. I think he's just ignorant. He's incredibly ignorant of evolution. He's incredibly ignorant of, obviously, planetary formation. There are people that know so much more than him that he wants to argue with. But he wants to do it from the pulpit where no one can contradict him, which is, generally what these people will do. I think that he's not a great... Yeah, I don't know. Look, my opinion on okay, Booba, you say it, mate. All right, Booba's gonna say it. All right, Booba's doubling down. I think that. So, how do you reach people like this? You probably can't. Just like the flat earthers, you probably can't. You can show them the final experiment. You can show them the 24-hour sun. You can show them all of this stuff. And they just don't believe it. Say it's the devil. Say it's, all of this stuff. It's very difficult. And I wish I had an answer for you. I think it's just important to support the institutions that do have a handle on scientific research. It is horrifying that we've seen things like the CDC get downsized and things like that. What could possibly that be for? These kind of things are absolutely necessary to our continued survival. I don't see how attacking science is going to get you to a better survival and a better outcomes, because that's what they're doing. They're sort of attacking them in the same way flat earthers do. They say, hey, you're not the real science, we're the real science. Really. So all of these scientific institutions with 100-year history that have been producing all of these results, they're not the science, but you are. So what principles has Answers in Genesis discovered that have been implemented in a way that we can implement put into technology for the benefit of all? Nothing. They don't produce anything. All they do is attack science. That's all they do. And then claim their Bible is the fount of all knowledge. They haven't invented Wi-Fi like the CSIRO sort of modern Wi-Fi. All of the interleaving problems, all of the problems was solved by CSIRO. It's an Australian scientific institute. They created modern Wi-Fi. They even sued people for using it. And then just gave it up because, yeah. But, there's these institutions. You have, say, MIT, for instance. They've produced all kinds of stuff to help us. You've got the National Academy of Sciences. I couldn't even list the amount of things that they produced to help us. It's kind of this if your organization claims to have or be backed by an omniscient master of the universe who knows everything, and they cannot produce one thing, one principle that helps us practically in our lives, what are you doing? What are they doing? Because if I had access to the master of the universe who knows everything, I would be making all of the discoveries from penicillin to nuclear fusion. But they don't, because they don't have access to this person. And most likely they don't exist. So, yeah. But I do have a debate coming up. I will live stream it just for you guys. I will get that up as soon as possible so you can mark it in your calendar. Jim Bob is a pretty horrendous person. He is very, very disruptive, but hopefully I will be able to, use what debate techniques I've learned to make a case. He wouldn't even do the existence of God. He's got very cold feet when it comes to defending his master of the universe. He's basically saying, oh, I want to debate whether God is reasonable. And I managed to get to whether belief in God is rational. So it's a bit of a lukewarm topic for me. It doesn't really get to the ontological or the actuality of whether a God exists, just whether it's reasonable or whether it's rational to believe in it, which is kind of very lukewarm to me. It doesn't, really matter. I want to know whether the God actually exists. I think that I should be able to present something on sort of the gap in rationality that is filled, leading up to this thing. So, yeah, it should be good. It should be good. Or at least, I'll try my best. And it's over at Raging Tomato, which is sort of it's a debate channel. I'm not sure why he didn't want to go onto modern day debate. I'm not 100% sure. I think that he's just trying to get maybe sort of, home court confidence, maybe. I don't know. But it really doesn't worry me. It's totally fine. I don't have a problem. But yeah, it should be fun. I'll probably have a laugh. So make sure and come laugh. No, make sure you introduce that as Mark Bob. Right. Mark Bob. I don't know. I kind of automatically assume anybody with like a name like Jim Bob or something like that is automatically inbred. But that might just be. I might have just watched too many American shows, kind of thing. I got to be honest. So if your name is something like that, please. It's just a stereotype that I've picked up from watching American TV. I think. Yeah. No, I get you. Well, you can watch it here. That's fine. That's fine. I don't know what Raging Tomato was like. I've got no idea. The debates have been really disappointing recently, I must say. I think that isn't so much due to MDD, but I think it's mostly been due to who they've had on. I don't know. Maybe I should call him James Robert. Use his full name, James Robert. Maybe that's what I should do. James Robert. Thanks, Stacey. You're going to be calling me this for the rest of my life. This is terrible. All right, peeps. Yeah, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you have enjoyed my rant at Matt Powell. I always, as much as I dislike what he's doing, I always laugh at him because his arguments are so bad. They're always based upon this. Oh, but what if? Yeah, what if gold coins fell from the sky? It doesn't mean I believe it, man. Like, I would like that. Doesn't have anything to do with whether it's real. Come on now. So yeah, I always laugh at Matt because he's like, he's really like a puppy-like guy. I mean, hateful as hell. Like just a terrible person, but a puppy that wants to believe these things. Like, seriously, it's time to grow up, dude. Like, the time that you believe in things because you want it to be true is when you're a kid. It's time to grow up, and look around the world around you and accept it for what it is. Sometimes it is unjust. That's why we have to make a justice system that tries to address all of this stuff. Sometimes it sucks. That's why we have to help each other. That's the whole point. There is no imaginary friend coming to make everything better. That's the point. That's the whole point. It's because that isn't happening is why we have to try and why we have to take care of one another. And on that note, like, subscribe, be kind to yourself, be kind to each other, and I will see you in the next one, if you grace me with your presence. Bye, everybody.